Listen to the rain, how it falls in sheets, how it whispers against the earth, how it carries stories the way rivers carry leaves, gently, relentlessly. This story, it stirs something ancient in Mother's heart. It makes you want to gather your daughter close, wrap her in your arms, shield her from every storm. It makes you wish you could become the superhero she never had. Because this young girl, she had no shield, no voice raised on her behalf, no arms to stand between her and the darkness. She lived among people who should have loved her, yet instead carved wounds where tenderness should have been. And the rain seems heavier when you realize not one soul stepped forward to say, enough. It was midday, a quiet hour that should have held sunlight, when she stepped out from her bedroom door and froze. Chaos erupted from the kitchen like a sudden downpour, dishes shattering like thunder, harsh words hissing like wind through broken branches, the smell of burnt food rising like smoke from a fire left unattended. Even though her abusers are gone, their shadows linger in her memory. She came from them, but she did not become them. Instead, she learned to gather the shards of her past and build something strong enough to shelter others. She didn't receive the love she deserved, but she learned, slowly, painfully, what love is not. And that knowledge became her power. So today, as the rain falls steady and soft, we walk through the moment that changed everything. We talk about courage, about forgiveness, about the hope that rises like steam from warm earth after a storm. She peeked into the kitchen, trying to understand the storm unfolding there. Shattered dishes, muttered curses, burnt air thick enough to choke on. Was it a good time to ask a question? Of course not. But she was young, and children ask when their hearts are full, not when the room is calm. She waited for a single breath of silence, a rare moment of stillness in a house that rarely offered any. And when she finally spoke, the answer fell like cold rain. No guidance, no protection, no love. A question she shouldn't have asked, but to have known the answer by now. She was not yet 15, a child standing at the edge of a cliff with no one to warn her of the fall. What happened next was devastating. Left at the curb of her house like discarded debris after a storm, head down and dismissed to her room. Years later, in a quiet college dorm room, the girl, now grown, began piecing the memories together, the rejection, the silence, the chaos in the kitchen. And then another memory surfaced, like a buried root breaking through soil. Her little sister, pregnant at 12 or 13, dismissed like a broken dish swept under the rug. If you're asking, Where was God in all of this? You're not alone. You're not wrong. You're not weak. Here is what she learned. God was there, not in the abuse, not in the silence, but in the survival, in the breath that kept her alive, in the strength that helped her speak, in the healing that came later. God does not cause storms, but He walks with us through the rain. He weeps with us. He fights for us. He redeems what was meant to destroy us. So if you're asking, where was God? He was in the courage it took to ask the question. She was her own superhero, learning how to use her God-given powers. Not the kind who flies, but the kind who speaks truth into silence, who chooses healing over hiding, who turns pain into lantern light. God was in the tears that fell when left in that curb. He was in the healing that began that evening in the storm, in the dorm room, as she began to pray for strength, to forgive those who hurt her. And He is here now, in the rain, in the quiet, in the heart that is listening.